Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start off with a roll call. We good? Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Mr. Griffin will be running a little late. Mr. Hinckley's going to be running a little late. Mr. Turner had some business at his real job, so he's not going to be able to join us today, and Ms. Cooper's not going to join us today. And I see the parish president here today. Welcome, Mr. Nungasso. If I can find it, we'll start with our prayer. Where is it? It's not. Susan, can you pray for us? Thank you. Bow your heads, please. We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for this parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We also pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen. Mr. Nungasso, please lead us to the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start off with a small announcement first. I want to let everyone know I did send a letter out to all the councilmen and the school board members. We basically got, I'm just going to read it real quick. This refers to 2013 redistricting plan for Plaquemines Parish and the Plaquemines School Board and Plaquemines Parish, and the realignment, elimination, creation, and renumbering of voting precincts for Plaquemines Parish, submitted to the Attorney General, pursuant to Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We received your submissions on April 12, 2013. The Attorney General does not interpose any objection to the specified changes. However, we do note that Section 5 expressly provides that the failure of the Attorney General to object does not bar subsequent litigation to enjoin the enforcement of the changes. Basically, what this does is a letter of no objection to our redistricting, and I want to thank all the members of the council and the school board to have two government entities with nine people on each to finally come to some type of a compromise that worked out well for everyone, and I'd like to thank everybody for that. We're going to go to suspension of rules. You have something for us, Dr. Bowie? Okay, I'm going to ask for suspension of rules. There's a resolution authorizing the council chairman, Mr. Byron Maroon, to sign a letter to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission supporting the effort of CEFLNG LLC and CE Pipelines LLC's application for the long-term authorization to export liquefied natural gas to non-free trade agreement countries and otherwise to provide respect thereto. I'll offer the suspension. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Lepine. Machine is open on suspension. And is granted 5-0. A resolution authorizing the council chairman, Mr. Byron Marinovich, to sign a letter to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission supporting the effort of CEFLNG LLC and CE Pipeline LLC's application for the long-term authorization to export liquefied natural gas to non-free trade agreement countries and otherwise to provide respect thereto. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Do you have any comment or question about it? This is basically, just to give y'all a brief reprise of it, was Cambridge came in last week, and they're looking to put in a pipeline, I think, from Toka down. Basically, what this is just a resolution authorizing and signing a letter to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to show our support. It's going to be a pipeline, and it's going to be like an isobutane, pentane type of processing plant. They'll be coming from a 42-inch pipeline, freezing it and turning it into liquefied natural gas, and shipping it out by barge. And I certainly ask for your support on this. Any comment or questions? Hearing none, the machine's open. And it passes 5-0. I note that Mr. Hinckley's joined us. I'm going to ask for another suspension of the rules. It's a resolution to approve the process to obtain a Class A permit from the State Land Office in order to reconstruct bulkhead along Tiger Pass, Site 60, Venice Port Complex, Plaquemines Parish, State of Louisiana. I'll offer suspension. Ask for a second. Second from Mr. Burris. What'd you do next one? Machine's open on the suspension. Suspension is granted. It's a resolution to approve the process to obtain a Class A permit from the State Land Office in order to reconstruct bulkhead along Tiger Pass, Site 60, Venice Port Complex, Plaquemines Parish, State of Louisiana. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Peabody, if you'd approach for a moment, please. Name and address for the record. Okay, let me pass these out, y'all. I'm sorry.
George Peabody, 8311 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. I'm the attorney representing the Louisiana Fruit Company, Venice Port Complex. We're talking about, and we've applied for with the state and the Corps of Engineers, a permit to reconstruct a bulkhead that failed along Tiger Pass, right across from the Venice Marina. This was a bulkhead that's been installed back in the 1980s. Reconstruction was to occur in 2009. Due to an engineering error, the bulkhead failed. And we're now applying for a new permit with the Corps in the state of Louisiana to reconstruct the bulkhead along the same exact alignment that had been there since the early 1980s. Unfortunately, when we applied for the state permit, it took the state to get back to us for a while to notify us that we needed a Class A permit, which wasn't needed previously, but as a result of the bulkhead failure a couple of years ago, there's been some erosion, so now the state's requiring the permit. We have already put this project out for bids when we learned that we needed a Class A permit, and unfortunately, again, with the state, you cannot get a Class A permit until the local government says the alignment's okay, and you can't get a coastal zone permit until Class A permit's issued, and la-da-da-da-da. So I'm here before the council today, Mr. Chairman. I thank you and the council members for accommodating me and allowing the suspension of the rules, and ask that this resolution be passed so we can proceed to get our project moving forward and construct bulkhead approximately 300 feet of bulkhead to tie into another 600 feet along Tiger Pass, which would accommodate a water depth of 25 feet.
Mr. Peabody, you have any questions? Comments from anyone? Hearing none, the machine's open.
Again, thank you for the council's consideration.
And it's granted 6-0. Let's go to. I'm gonna go to 4A 1. I'm sorry, 4 building permits. Construction 4A construction permits. Swift Energy Operating LLC, Lake Washington Field, install 4-inch flow lines. 4A3, Lobo Operating Incorporated, Grand Bay Field, wheel wash, install power clusters, drill estate lease 195, QQ location number 189, and install timber wellhead protector. 4A4, Apache Corporation, South Passfield, install power clusters and shell pad. Drill estate lease 20989 well number 001, and install well protector structure. 4A5, Swift Energy Operating LLC, Lake Washington Field, wheel wash, install power clusters and shell pad. Drill the Cockerel Moran number WWWPUD10, install keyway and wellhead protector. 4A6, Lobo Operating Incorporated, Breton Sound area, block 32, install power clusters. Drill estate lease 1227, location number 25, and install wellhead protector. 4A8, Statue Home. Marquez Bergeron, 114 Pintail Lane, Myrtle Grove, dredge, install bulkhead, wharf, and boat shed with lift. 4A9, Badger Energy LLC, Southeast Saturday Island Field, bucket dredge, install power cluster and drill estate lease 21081, well number 1, lower existing pipeline, install wellhead protector. 4A10, Apache Corporation, South Pass 24 Field, install power clusters, drill a USA 15, well number 3, and install wellhead protector. And 4A11, Crescent River Pilots Associates, Pilot Town area, install float-in living quarters and associated stairs and platforms. I'll offer and ask for a second. We'll do these in Globo. Second by Dr. Gui. This will be 4A1, 4A3, 4A4, 4A5, 4A6, 4A8, 4A9, 4A10, and 4A11. Do you have any comment or question about these? Here, none of the machines are open on the permits. And they are granted 6-0. 4A7, Mr. Hinckley, we're going to defer that one for now, correct? Okay. 4A7 will be deferred at this time. 4A2, Woodlands Borrow Pits LLC, Woodland Plantation Area, excavate existing pits, formerly CLL. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Hinckley. What this is I think probably our second borrow pit application under our new borrow pit ordinance. Everything seemed to be in order. Do we have somebody from the company here?
Jean-Paul Larison, Scandero and Larison, 607 St. Charles Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana.
So Larison, I went through this last night, and everything seemed to be in order, and y'all pretty much, it looks like you're abiding by all of our caveats in our ordinance. I did have one concern. I noticed it's probably close to somewhere between 800,000 to 1 million cubic yards of dirt that aren't suitable for levee use. And I wanted to know what was going to happen with that. Are we going to put that back in the pit, or what are we going to do with that dirt?
Yes, Steve Cali, who's our engineer who prepared the permit application, in his remediation plan, what he said was overburden or unusable material, to the extent it's not usable and can't be blended, it will go back into the pit as part of the reclamation plan at the end of the pit.
It's worded a little bit different here. That's why I'm asking. I mean, can we make sure that that is done?
Absolutely. We will comply 100% with the ordinance on that issue.
Okay, that's the only question I had. Anyone else? Any comment or question from the audience? Machine's open.
Thank you.
And the permit is granted 6-0. Let's knock some of these out real quick. Get Miss Brenda out here. Where's it at? Where's mine at? Okay, we've got, let's go to item 2, bids and advertisements. We have a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing one or more new road grader model VT Lebar 685B or equal for a period of 1 year for parish-wide use. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Ms. Brenda?
Do you want me to?
I don't know if you need to get into it too much. I looked at the...
Do you want me to tell you who bid and all on the air, or?
Well, we've got it all here in front of us.
Okay.
If you want to read it out, you can. But
up to
I'll
you.
just note that we've got 1, 2, 3 bids. The highest bid from Scott Equipment. We had one bid from LA Machinery, and the lowest bid coming in from Covington Sales at $124,490. and you
Right.
recommended acceptance of that
Right,
bid,
Mr.
correct?
Scott Lott is
Mr. Lott.
recommending the, low bid.
Any other comment or question about this? Hearing none, the machine's open. And it's granted 6-0. Thank you, Ms.
Okay,
Linda.
thank you.
4B will be deferred. Correct, Mr. King? Okay, I have one here. Ms. Cooper asked me to bring forward for her a resolution approving the issuance of a special permit to Karen Davis for the placement of a third residential structure, temporary park model, on property located in an A2 rural and agricultural zoning district at 130 Gober Lane, Bluefield, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number 2013-4015 dated June 4th, 2013. I'll offer and ask for a second. Seconded by Dr. Gui. Basically, what this is, a young lady works for the EMS service, and she's looking to move back from where she was living before, back down to her where she lived before Katrina, and she's asking to put a trailer on the property. Do we have any comment or question about this? Hearing none, the machine's open. And the resolution passes 6-0. I'll note that Mr. Griffin's joined us today on TV. TV, you want to do 689? Oh, they should just do 6. Okay. An ordinance authorizing directing, we're going to go to before we get into that, let's do the beer. We're going to do next beer and liquor. Huh? Who's on your anyway? What about item 7B or whatever? You want to answer that and get it over with? Let's do beer and liquor license first. Mr. PV, do you have any beer and liquor license, sir? Mr. Hinckley? Do you have one in the course?
A one-day liquor license for Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church Parish Fair, a special type A for beer and light wine permit for the dates of September 28th, September 27th, 28th, 29th, 2013, with rain dates as October 11th, October 12th, October 13th, and 2013. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. King. Dr. Gouy? I have one for, this is for the YMCA in Buras. This is an event, just a one-day event, August 24th, 2013, starting at 5 p.m. and 11:59. It's a fundraiser community event. It's beer only. And the address is showing, a mailing address at P.O. Box 35, Port Suffolk, Louisiana. The physical address of the event will be at the Auditorium Drive, 116 Auditorium Drive in Buras. Mr. Buras, none? Mr. Edgecombe?
We'll call the vote on the liquor license. Make sure I got that. Can I get a second? Okay. All right. Oh, I'll vote for Byron. Shit. Let me vote for Byron. Let me clear Byron. Okay. And the liquor license passes 6-0. 5-0. We didn't carry. No, we didn't count on it. Do we want to move to something else? Byron and Billy are back there. Let me take a 5-minute recess, and I'll know what they want. Okay. What you want to do next? 5 minutes? We're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
I'm gonna often ask for a second on that one. Third call on this one, asking for a second. Move to item. I can hear y'all down there. Oh, it is. Can we discuss this under maybe presidential address? Let's do it like that. Let's do it that way.
Concern that we have is that statute to go into executive session is very clear on what may or may not be discussed in executive session. And if it's part of a pending lawsuit, if somebody has issued a demand letter, or if it has something to do with a personal matter for an employee, I believe then it's appropriate to go into executive session. But to go into executive session for general discussion, I do not believe is appropriate. Therefore, we have concerns about this issue in executive session.
Appropriate for to put it on. What's wrong with the button?
Okay. Hey, let me explain. I've discussed it with y'all about the possibility of us trying to settle all the back and forth on the PW's Trina. And I had a chance to meet with the head of FEMA and discuss a global settlement. And what we did is we worked on a plan to where we could get a global settlement for the parish and excuse the loan and the 20+ million we're being penalized for not having insurance on the buildings prior to Katrina. And we felt we've put together a package that the state has approved. We would like the council to know what we're proposing and in this settlement. Now, y'all get all the documents. You can make them public if you want, but we've no action. It's a settlement that we need to discuss. I mean, it's up to the lawyers. Y'all decide.
No one, we could do it. Let's just do it. I don't see a second here. I do think it's important. I think you're right. I just think it's an inappropriate time to do it during executive session, and we all kind of agree on that. But we would like to discuss it with you and work something out, and if we can either arrange some meetings or do something back and forth, or do it during your address if you want to, okay? So we're going to skip that. We're going to go to item 2, Dave Ankar et al. Versus Plaquemines Parish Government. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. We need to vote on that? No, not each one second. Yeah. I'm going to do the next. Yeah. And we're also going to take the next one. I'm going to do these two in Globo. Wade Boudreaux versus Terrell Dobar, Parish of Plaquemines, et al., 25th Judicial District Court for the Parish of Plaquemines. I'll offer and ask for a second again. Second by Mr. Burris. Machines open executive session. Will you vote for me this time? And we're going to executive session at 12 minutes to 2. Coming out of executive session at 2:02, haven't taken no final and binding action. I'd like to move to item 7D. I'm going to get you out as quick as I can, I promise. Which is explanation, discussion on destroying the buildings in the East Bank Parish owned property formerly known as the Giordano property. Without making this a big public fight, I just would like to get a final answer. Mr. Nungesser, just if you could answer for me, you had no advance knowledge of this fire whatsoever? You did not authorize this fire? Let me ask this question now. It's finally looked like it's resting on Mr. Puckett's shoulders. What are we gonna do about that? I know if you came and worked for me and destroyed $300,000 or $400,000 worth of property without authorization, the least you'd do is be gone.
You know, I know it's being investigated by the DA's office. I don't even know if it's proper for us to be discussing it.
We all know where that's going.
I gave a statement to the DA's office, whether it was a misunderstanding between Councilman Griffin, Benny Puckett, Scott Lott, I don't know. But the discussion was whether we had to wait for FEMA to come tear it down, and that was my recommendation, because we're still trying to get to the 90-10. We're still at the 75-25. And whether it was a misunderstanding, those three gentlemen, I don't think any of them did it intentionally. And the building had no value. FEMA, the preliminary observation of the building was that it had to be torn down, that it was an eyesore. I think Mr. Griffin and everyone that. So I do think we make more of there. If the DA decides that there's something wrong, then take a
I spoke to the DA, I also spoke to the investigator, and I'm not ashamed to say that at the best, he's talking as an act of stupidity is what it was said. There are going to be no criminal charges, obviously, and we can probably guesstimate why. But I'm going to say that we weren't allowed to go through our normal process. I understand the buildings may well have been destroyed. I've got no evidence to show me contrary or to the fact that they were destroyed or any kind of damage at all. Nothing's been provided to any of us. I understand that the chain of command that went up, it's resting on Mr. Puckett's shoulders. You claim to have no knowledge of it. Mr. Palazzo says he has no knowledge of it. And I'm going to be honest with you, we lost out on probably several $100,000 in FEMA monies. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong.
The only way you lose out on FEMA money is because if we fall under the 90-10 match, then by whatever it would have cost to tear that building down, then you lose out on money. But no, you spent no money, and there was no. FEMA went out the day after it was burned.
And said it was a fire, so we could do nothing now.
Right.
So we got no money coming to us. So we
Well,
lost money.
No, because they didn't pay anything to tear it down. So
This is my question, though. What I'm getting at, though, is on a normal PW process with buildings and stuff, if this pump station is destroyed, and they come out and they say, we're going to give you X amount of dollars, no matter what the split is, 75, 25, 90, 10, whatever, we're going to give you some money to help replace that.
no, because it wasn't covered in our insurance. We had just bought the property, and we didn't have insurance on that property, so it wasn't covered.
So you think it's okay just for the grant administrator to burn the buildings down, and it is ordered, and it's all good? That's the end of it. No, but this is one thing that needs to be addressed, and I've got constituents calling me every day about it. And that's so y'all see nothing wrong here, and that's going to be the end of it. I think we will. I'll leave it at that. Mr. Nungas, while we got you here, you may want to, go ahead and go to. Does anybody have any questions for him, Mr. Griffin? Would you like to make a statement, anything?
Yeah, let me just clarify something, Mr. Miscommunication on my part, Mr. Lott and Mr. Plunkett. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there was no miscommunication. I had one conversation with Mr. Plunkett when he made a phone call to Mr. I had a conversation with Mr. You got
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now, trying to clarify what Mr. Nungas said probably was a miscommunication on our three part. Well, the only conversation I had with anybody was Mr. Plunkett, and there was no miscommunication with what he told me. I asked him a question, and he gave me an answer to Mr. Scott on the telephone conversation. I never talked to Mr. Scott, so there was no communication between Mr. Scott and I. So I just want to clarify that. There was no miscommunication. What was said, and I understood that.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Puckett, go ahead.
I don't know why the microphone's not working. As a point of clarification from what Mr. Griffin said, he said he didn't talk to Mr. Lott, but he did talk to Mr. Lott because there was a conference call from his office to Mr. Lott that Mr. Griffin asked me to make. So recall that.
Yeah, I recall that telephone call, Mr. Lott, and you asked that I wanted to know what the, on,
That's correct. It was on my phone. I put it on speakerphone. Mr. Chairman, I can only respond to what I did. And what I did was make a telephone call because I was asked to do that. Aside from that, I can't respond to anything else because it's all I did. I sent an email initially to Scott Lott and copied Mr. Griffin to ask, first of all, if there was such a project and where it was. And the second thing I did was I made a telephone call from his office as a conference call on speakerphone to Mr. Lott because Mr. Griffin wanted to know when the buildings would be destroyed or torn down. That's the only thing I ever did with the project, and that's all I can answer to.
I'm just a little curious. I mean, your title is Grant Administrator.
That's correct.
Can you tell me why you would even be involved in this in the first place as Grant Administrator? What this has to do with grants, burning buildings down?
I was asked a question. I responded to the question just the same as I would give that respect to anyone that asked me that question, any council member that would ask me a question. I would do my best to respond to that question.
I've got an email string right here I'm going to read into the record. It says, Scott or Guy, is there a project in place to demo the old buildings on the old Joe Brown property? Councilman Griffin is asking that they be demoed as soon as possible, and I'm not sure if they've been included on any demo list or if there's a plan in place. Thanks, Benny Puckett. This is sent from iPhone, from Scott Lott. I do not know about it being on any list, but we can do it in-house if requested to do so. Yes, please put them on you list and let me know a time frame. Thanks, Benny Puckett. And finally, Scott, let me know when you or one of your guys want to meet on site for verification. Please advise Byron DPS. And it says here, please, can you please let us know what building you want demoed? I'm just curious to why the grant administrator is deciding which buildings and giving authorization and what power you have to burn buildings or demo anything.
That was my communication to let you know what buildings to demo. That was not from me.
Scott, do you have the authorization to do this? Do you have the power to burn buildings or take down buildings on your own?
I said once before, and I'll say it again. The phone call, demoing buildings. My question was, materials. To bring the materials from the East Bank to the West Bank and pay for disposals. My suggestion was then, if we're going to demo the buildings and have to pay for the disposal, why wouldn't we do a practice with the fire department and burn them? Spoke to Mr. Puckett about it, and if I'm not mistaken, we talked to Mr. P.V. Griffin about it. So a few days went by, received another phone call from Mr. Puckett. Mr. Puckett was at Mr. P.V.'s Griffin's office with him on a speakerphone, wanted to know the status and when would we be able to get to it. Told him I did not know. I would have to call Mr. Roy Robichaux. And if Mr. Griffin knows Mr. Roy Robichaux, he would know Mr. Roy Robichaux is a fire chief. So I told him I don't know. I have to call Mr. Roy. He's out of town. Called Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy didn't know. He'd had to call his chief on the East Bank. Got in touch with him. He called me back. Told me, I think that day was a Monday. Told me that he'd have it be down by Thursday. Called Mr. Puckett back up. Told him they'll be down by Thursday. So if Mr. P.V. Griffin saying that he did not know that they were going to be demoed, or if he does not know who Mr. Roy Robichaux would be, and knowing that he's the fire chief, then
Let me
something.
just ask this, because I know I'm splitting hairs, and maybe Mr. Griffin should know who Roy Robichaux is and what he does. Did you specifically tell him or ask him that you were going to burn the buildings? Yes or no?
I don't recall
I
one
would
way
take
or
it
the
as
other.
a no.
I don't recall one way or the other.
Okay. Mr. Griffin, do you recall anything about this conversation? Did you ask for the buildings to be burned down? Did you burn the buildings down? Anything like that? Press that button, PD, real good, see.
I'm pressing
you
this
got it.
thing, but it ain't working. And he said,
Give me a 5-minute recess, y'all. Just 5 minutes, let me get the electronics and order, y'all. For your patience. Mr. Griffin, you were responding to a question, I believe, sir?
yes, sir. What I was saying earlier is that when Mr. Plunkett had came to my office that day for a meeting, and I did ask Mr. Plunkett what was the status of the building, and he got on the phone. He called Mr. Scott Lott from his cell phone, put Mr. Lott on his PA system, and he asked Mr. Lott the question. Mr. Councilman Griffin wanted to know what the status is of the property. Mr. Lott's response was it'll be taken care of by the week in a conversation. Was all this stuff, but Roy Robichaux that was never said on the telephone to Mr. Plunkett, it was never said to me. Our conversation was very short and very brief.
I got a couple questions, y'all. We can wrap this up. Mr. Griffin, did you have any advanced knowledge of the fire whatsoever? Or have any knowledge, or did you instruct anybody to set a fire?
Now, when I found out about the fire, Reverend Edwards called me that evening about 1:30 and
After the
told
fact.
me that the building was on fire.
Okay.
And I asked my question, what building? He said the Giordano property. If I hadn't received a phone call from Reverend Tyrone Edwards that day, I never would have knew the building was being burned until I passed that site later that evening.
Mr. Lott, I got one question for you so we can summarize this and go move on to the next thing.
Yes, sir.
You got instruction from Benny Puckett, and you correct?
When you say instructions as,
Did you take it upon yourself to do this?
no, sir.
You got instruction from,
I got the request
request from,
from Mr. Puckett, as you see the emails.
okay, that's good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Puckett, did you get instruction from anyone else? I know some people called and asked you questions, about demoing the property or whatever. Did you get instruction from anybody else, Mr. Nungas or me or anybody else, to burn the properties?
I got a request from Councilman Griffin to check on the status of the buildings.
I'm sorry, sir.
I got a request from Councilman Griffin to check on the status of the buildings. That's what I did.
And he acknowledged that he asked about the buildings, that, what are y'all going to demo the buildings? I
And
understand
that's
that.
what I did.
But did he ask you to burn them at any time?
I don't think anybody ever asked me to burn them.
Okay, so Mr. Nunn gets an instruction, nobody else instructed you to do that. You took that upon yourself to give that order to Mr. Lott.
I did not give that order to Mr. Lott. Mr. Lott and I had conversations at the behest of Mr. Griffin's, just like he said, just like Mr. Lott said, and just like I said.
So who had the authority to burn these buildings? I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out here. Keep shifting back and forth. I don't understand why you're even involved.
We're not shifting back and forth.
Yes, sir, you are.
No,
Somebody
we're
has
not.
to give an instruction.
We're not
Ms. Audrey,
shifting back
did you
and
burn
forth.
the buildings?
What we're doing is, I'm trying to tell you that I had a request from one of the council members. I respected that request, and I asked Mr. Scott Lott what the status of the project. He had gotten that request that I had gotten from Mr. Griffin, and he checked on it. We later checked at the behest of Mr. Griffin as well, to find out where it was. They wanted the buildings gone. So we were trying to do two things. We were trying to respect the councilman's request, and at the same time, we were trying to see where the project was. That's the only thing I ever did.
Well, we know where the project is now.
You can try to make something else out of it, but that's all we ever did, was check at the behest of the council member to see where the project was and to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish.
know if in that fashion, but I'm good with that. I think we're good. Anybody else have any other questions about this right now?
My name is Agnes Insardi, and I have been an East Bank resident my whole life. Joe Brown's property was very dear and sacred. The authorization to burn it was absolutely absurd. Mr. Nungesser, if it wasn't any monetary value, why'd you pay so much for it? That is my question.
The council approved buying that property. I didn't pay anything for
You sure didn't veto it?
No, I didn't.
What was it used for? Nothing. What was the value of it?
Nothing now.
So who burned it? My next question is, if we can just go ahead and burn property, why are we paying a company $50,000 to destroy records out of the Woodlawn building?
That was my next question, and I'd like to ask that question now since you did bring it up. Ms. Leslie, if you would.
Give me, I'll fix it for you. I'll show you. I have no problem.
She's got some pictures on the phone yesterday. Yes, ma'am, you may. If it goes up, absolute document destruction at the Woodlawn building. Can you tell me what this is about? We're shredding documents or burning documents?
Yeah, well, we've got to get those records out of there, and there's a procedure that's required by law because there's personnel records and stuff in there, the way they have to be disposed of. And we had to go through the FEMA process of bidding it out to have those documents removed, and they have to all be shredded.
What are these documents?
Do you know, Mario? I don't.
Those were, I was told by finance that they were finance records. Some payroll records range anywhere from 8 to about 70 years. They could not be recovered. I spoke to Ms. Carrie Falger with the State Archives, requested authorization to dispose of them. She sent back a authorization approving it, and only by shredding.
Did anybody go and look at them?
Yes.
Who?
Finance.
There's records on the second floor that there wasn't anything wrong with them.
I don't know anything about the second floor.
The first floor was underwater.
My request was for the first floor documents.
Can you tell me why they have a ramp coming out the window on the second floor with documents coming out?
No, I cannot.
When I worked in that building, the records that were in that building were general fund records, payroll records, insurance payment records.
Ms. Shannon, she have something for us?
Yes, the superintendent of the school board, Dennis Roussel, called me. They are tearing the building down. They gave us till June 15th to, the school board, the building has to come down. And we were told that we had to get all records out of the building. That's when I contacted Mr. Artiega, and he said that we cannot destroy the records, that we had to go through the state, and we did the process through the state to get the records destroyed. We filled out all the applications through the state. That's what we're doing. And we had to get permission to destroy payroll records and all the records, first and second floor. So that's what we're doing in the process now. We had to hire the outside professional service, and we're just following state law.
Ms. Janice, I would probably ask in the future, y'all might want to ask the council, at least a courtesy call to some of us from time to time would probably be nice. It'd probably give us a little less confrontational attitude towards each other if we could find out about some type of these things.
It was just a standard thing.
If not, maybe you could just stick them in a Joe Brown property and burn another house down, I guess. I don't know what else to tell y'all.
It was a requirement of the state.
Mr. Dunn, guess you have anything else for us going on, sir? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Wait 1 second, Billy, 1 second. Benny, you had something for us?
Councilman Marinovich, I don't think that this topic's on the agenda. It's not appropriate for discussion.
Actually, it is. We're talking about, we're on 7D right now, on the Giordano property. Is that what you're here to discuss, Mr. Russell?
Sure. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the
I got this.
Well, the public records issue, we know that this government doesn't allow public records access to most people, and I can understand why you don't want to talk about public records. Are there public records requests pending now?
That's not on the agenda either.
It's not on the agenda, I understand. As far as the Joe Brown property, let me just say
Go on
this.
that one. Go to that one.
It's amazing to me that we can pay $700,000 for a piece of property and not pay for it all at once. We pay $500,000, and then we come back and pick up another couple $100,000, and then somebody goes and burns it, and then we don't have insurance on it. And I've been taking a hit from this administration about no insurance for years, and still we don't have any insurance on the Joe Brown property or the Jordana property. It's amazing to me how we can point fingers in different directions when we're guilty of the same thing. Now, as far as no accountability, I got to say that's what it appears to me, the way you can get away with burning a piece of property. And no one in this room will convince me that this administration at the top did not know about burning these buildings. Because if any employee here talks to the wrong person, they're threatened, much less burning a piece of public property and not having any consequences. It's a disservice to the public, and it's definitely not the truth coming out here. Thank you.
As Mr. Roussel should know, you can't insure an uninhabited residence.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Palazzo. I appreciate that, but that's never been distinguished before when we were talking about playgrounds and all of the other things. And when we get into the NFIP reductions, you know, this is not on the subject, but I definitely would like to see that put on the agenda so we can address it. The NFIP reduction.
Mr. Roussel, if you would, if you call the office, I could definitely have to put this on. I'm going to ask one question to the attorney's office, and we're going to move on from here. Who would have the authority to order the burning of these buildings? Huh? Demo the buildings or burn the buildings? Destroy the buildings, blow them up, whatever you want to do with them. Who would have that authority? Ultimate authority. Does Mr. Griffin have that authority? Do I as chairman?
If you base it on custom,
No, I'm basing it on law. That's what this is, a body of law.
Well, custom can be law too, and apparently based on the custom of this parish, each and every one of you would have authority to do that.
Has it ever been done? Dr. Gu, you've been on the council quite some time. Has that ever been done? Okay, so it's not custom, so let's go to law now.
I think that the council as a whole has the authority to do that.
That's your opinion. Okay, I'm good. We're good. Yeah. You want to move on now? Anybody else have any further comment or question about this? Okay, I'm good with it. Mr. Nungas, if you would, we'll go to 1B, your status report, sir.
As y'all are aware, the Gulf Coast Restoration Council met last night in Belle Chase, and thank everybody for coming out and all the comments concerning the funding that's going to be coming down from BP. I also, you'll pass this out for me, have an update on the Isaac work for the levees. All the debris has been removed on the Scarsdale or White Ditch levee, and the repairs to the cuts that were made to get the water out have been 100% completed, and the contract is currently adding material to the 2 Katrina breaches and the 1 Isaac breach that amounted for settlement, and hydro seeding is currently underway to try to get grass on those levees before the height of the hurricane season. Braithwaite to Scarsdale, all the Isaac work is complete, and IPS is currently working on the pre-Isaac elevation contract that they had underway. We will be monitoring the work they're doing to make sure we're able to flood fight in the event of a storm that, as we did before, the levees are not degraded in large sections. The West Bank levees, I gave y'all a map, and I won't go through each and every one of these, but it gives you an idea of where we are today. We have asked the council today to vote on the funding, about $2.6 million for several projects. Some of the most important parts of that is to put some rock armoring in some of the areas behind the levees that have just been built, because we get storm surge on those levees, and FEMA's not gonna pay, as they wash out. So we need to put some rock along the areas that have large open water areas, so we don't get those levees deteriorated before we even see a storm if we do this year. Also, several relocation projects where we've got to move sewer lines or water lines out of the levee alignment. And if we don't move forward on that, it's a time, we've got to get an engineer to design it and get it done as not to hold up these levee projects. The other contracts on the Mississippi River that have been let, the flood wall contracts that were let for the Oakville North Mississippi River levee, August 2013, they're going to be let. And construction will start September, October of this year. The earthen levee improvements in that same area is going to be let in October, November this year, and construction will start by December. And we're hoping to stay on course with that. We, as y'all know, we were awarded $208 million of the $340 million in coastal restoration early money from BP projects, which includes 3 coastal projects and a fish hatchery at Point Lahash. And we were real proud of the amount of money that we got, the largest share of that. We also have just received notice that the HMGP funds for Isaac, Plaquemines Parish, was awarded the largest share of that money as well, $12,118,394. So we were very pleased to get the largest share of those projects as well. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I've got one question for you. I've had some word in the past few days about some levee failures and some of the stuff we're doing. Do you know anything about that?
We've had several locations where we've had some washout on the backside every time we get a little 10 or 15 rainstorm come through. And then we've had, FEMA allows us to do a 10-inch overbuild for settlement. And in some of the areas, we've had some problems where that compaction and running on that levee, where we fixed those breaches, we've had a couple failures. And we've applied for permits and
to go higher than 10 inches?
Well, then to widen the base of it so we can sustain that height that we've been able to get.
Anyone else have any questions? Sorry, name and address for us.
Audrey Salvant, 123 Girard Street, Port Salford. Mr. Nungesser, I noticed that with some construction starting with the elevation and raising of Highway 23. Could you give us an update on and a time frame?
Yeah, thank you so much for reminding me of that. Originally, they're out there today working, and the road was supposed to be closed, and it will be closed through November 1st. It will have one-way traffic each way, and you'll only be allowed up to 10 foot wide on that road. Anything wider will require a permit through DOTD. And we've made Venice Port Complex and all the businesses in Venice aware of that. They have delayed the full southbound lane closure for 2 to 3 weeks, and but they will be out there working. They're just a little behind schedule and getting all the equipment out there, and they're not going to close that road until they get all their equipment on site. So please be patient. This is a project that Senator Heitmeyer, Chris Leopold, many of you, we've all worked hard to get this project underway. It's going to be a great asset, not only for hurricane evacuation, but the development of the Venice port area, and for the businesses in the south end, as you know, that are shut down for so long when that highway stays underwater. So I thank y'all for your support of that.
Just a brief explanation, y'all. It's going to be about a 7 or 7.1 mile stretch, I believe. We're just raising 2 lanes. It's something Mr. Nungesser worked on, Mr. Leopold, several of us, Regional Planning Commission. And what it is, it's going to raise the highway approximately 2 feet in most spots. And while it might not be enough to overcome, if we have a large storm event or something like we did for even like Isaac, it would probably get us back online on the lower end probably from 3 to 7 days earlier at the very least. And we're staying some maybe smaller events, in the meantime. Still, yeah, for us, Mr. Nungesser? Till November the 1st.
November 1st, they hope to be complete by.
Anyone else?
Yeah, it's actually,
We're just doing 2 lanes going down. Just
and it goes, you know, the deepest area, the lowest area is gonna be raised 2 feet. And then it'll go down, so it'll be a uniform. The worst area is about 2.5 miles. And it starts right south of Phillips 66 Refinery. It runs down there, I think it's well past Myrtle Grove. I think almost to Lake Hermitage Road, somewhere in that area. And I think, and I will get them to put a map on the website. And the map is color-coded, which areas are going to be raised a foot, 2 foot, and I think down to 6 inches in some areas. So it'll be a uniform elevation.
Thank you, Mr. Nungesser. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. Do you have no proclamations, correct? Okay. Let's move to item 5, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. Mr. Griffin?
An order is authorizing and directing the parish president to advertise for and fill 2 heavy equipment operator, 1 position available in the flood control department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
An ordinance to prohibit the parking of any automobiles or other vehicle along highway, street, or right-of-way in any residential or commercial areas as to block private driveways or interfere with the ability of vehicles to safely enter into or exit from private driveways, to provide for penalties in violation of this prohibition, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. A resolution amending resolution number 09-512, adopted December 10, 2009, conditionally approving the plan of re-subdivision of tract 3-D-1 of Section B of Bell Chase Plantation, and amending said resolution to show that the re-subdivision of tract 3-D-1 is to be developed in 4 phases, 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. That Phase 1A shall comprise lots 1 through 53, lots 1V through 21V, and Lot 3H. That Phase 1B shall comprise lots 79 through 109. That Phase 1C shall comprise lots 22V through 41V, and Phase 1D shall comprise lots 156 through 78, all in accordance with plans of the Parks of Plaquemines Phase 1 by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS, dated May 31, 2008, amended March 16, 2009, amended August 6, 2009, amended October 28, 2009, amended April 24, 2013, all without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, Mr. Chair.
I got 2. An ordinance appropriating $170,000 for the design of the improvement to the Bell Chase Sewage Collection System project. An ordinance terminating the state of emergency declared by Parish President William Billy Nungesser on August 26, 2012, relative to Hurricane Isaac, authorizing and directing the council secretary to file this ordinance with the Plaquemines Parish Clerk of Court and State Emergency Preparedness Office, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's it.
Is it working? Now it's working. A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish Government to settle a matter entitled Dave Ankar et al. Versus Plaquemines Parish Government, 25th JDC number 38-058, Division B, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish Government to settle a matter entitled Dave Ankar et al. Versus Plaquemines Parish Government, 25th JDC number 38-058, Division B, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the Bureau of Boat Harbors and Shipyards Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Bureau of Boat Harbor Department line item photographic surveillance equipment, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. What is it? An ordinance to amend the Boat Harbors and Shipyards Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Bureau Shipyard Department, line item photographic surveillance equipment, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to accept the bid of All Land Service Incorporated for mineral lease purposes covering Parish Tract 13-3 on property located in Adams Bay Field and situated in northwest quarter of the southeast one quarter of Section 18, Township 20 South, Range 28 East, Bureau's Levy District, Plaquemines Parish, estimated to contain approximately 40 acres more or less, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. A resolution to reject the bid of All Land Service Incorporated for mineral lease purposes on Parish Tract number 13-33, located in Adams Bay Field and situated in northwest quarter of the southeast one quarter of Section 18, Township 20 South, Range 28 East, Bureau's Levy District, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, estimated to contain approximately 40 acres more or less, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to accept the bid of All Land Service Incorporated for mineral lease purposes covering Parish Tract 13-6 on property located in Adams Bay Field and situated in the east half of the southwest quarter of Section 13, also the northwest one quarter of Section 18 and northwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter of Section 18, all in Township 20 South, Range 28 East, Bureau's Levy District, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, estimated to contain approximately 220 acres more or less, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. The resolution rejected the bid of All Land Services Incorporated for mineral lease purpose on Parish Tract number 13-6, located in Adams Bay Field, situated in the east one half of the south one quarter of the southwest one quarter of Section 13, also the northwest one quarter of Section 18 and northwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter of Section 18, all in Township 20 South, Range 28 East, Bureau's Levy District, Plaquemines Parish, estimated to contain approximately 220 acres more or less, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. The resolution authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Community Agency to prepare the necessary application to the Louisiana Department of Labor, receiving the Community Services Block Grant funds for the program year 2014, and authorizing the President of the Plaquemines Parish Government to sign and submit said application and contract. An ordinance authorizing the Parish President, William H. Nungesser, to accept a donation for reverse emergency calls operations and to amend the General Fund 2013 operating revenue and expenditure budgets, Homeland Security, Emergency Preparedness Department, and otherwise provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the LDEQ compliance project and otherwise provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the Road Maintenance Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Public Right-of-Way Maintenance Department, line item professional services, grass cutting, and otherwise provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the General Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Legal, Judgments Department, line item judgments and damages, and Car David, and otherwise provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the Public Health Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Animal Control Department, line item supplies, field, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. This is for Mr. Turner. A resolution to declare Friday, July 5th, 2013 as an approved holiday for Plaquemines Parish government employees and otherwise to provide respect thereto. I have two from Ms. Cooper here. An ordinance to amend the Boat Harbors and Shipyards Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Venice Boat Harbor Department, line item photographic surveillance equipment and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the Boat Harbors and Shipyards Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Venice Shipyard Department, line item photographic surveillance equipment and otherwise to provide respect thereto. I have several from Mr. Edgecombe. The resolution to approve cooperative agreement number 2516-14-06 with the state of Louisiana, Department of Natural Resources for the Plaquemines Parish Local Coastal Program to authorize the execution of said agreement by the parish president and otherwise to provide respect thereto. A resolution granting use to the second floor conference room in the Port Suffolk Government Building to the Rotary Club twice a month for its meetings and otherwise to provide respect thereto. A resolution assigning room 122 in the Port Suffolk Government Building, Port Suffolk, Louisiana, to Representative Chris Leopold and otherwise to provide respect thereto. A resolution assigning room 124 in the Port Suffolk Government Building, Port Suffolk, Louisiana, Judge Michael Clement, 25th JDC Division B, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the Boat Harbors and Shipyards Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Empire Boat Harbor Department, line item for photographic surveillance equipment, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the parish council, an ordinance authorizing the parish president to solicit proposals and enter into contract to oversee and manage the mosquito abatement program for Plaquemines Parish, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. These are Edgecombs. Resolution authorizing, this is for Mr. Edgecombe also. Ma'am. Resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish Government to settle matter entitled Roberta Ward versus Plaquemines Parish Government, 25th JDC, case number 60-236, Division A, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Mr. Edgecombe, also an ordinance to amend the general fund, 2000 operating expenditure budget, legal judgments department, line item judgment damages, Roberta Ward versus Plaquemines Parish Government, otherwise to provide respect thereto. And I think it's the last one I have. This is for Mr. Turner. A resolution approving and supporting FEMA's National Disaster Recovery Framework Strategy and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Mr. Beers, you have any thoughts, sir?
Yes, sir, I don't have any.
You have any? All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
sir.
have four more.
Sir?
I got four more.
You have a couple more? Go ahead, Mr. Griffin.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the parish president to purchase 2 small excavators to be used in the flood control department and otherwise provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the Boat Harbor and Shipyard Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Pointler Hatch Boat Harbor Department, line item photograph surveillance equipment and otherwise provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the General Fund 2011 operating expenditure budget, Flood Control Department, line item heavy equipment and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the Boat Harbor and Shipyard Fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, Pointler Hatch Shipyard Department, line item photographs, surveillance equipment, and otherwise provide respect thereto. That's it. Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
You're welcome.
This will be all of our introductions. Let's move to item 6. Mr. Griffin, you ready to go on 6A1, sir?
Yes,
An
sir.
ordinance authorizing and directing the parish president to have the Plaquemines Parish Engineering Department resume issuing flood elevation certificates and otherwise provide respect thereto. Mr. Griffin, you offering?
Yes, sir.
I'll second. Mr. Griffin?
Okay, what it is,
Yeah, this is
we're
the
trying to
offer
get some
change.
relief to the residents of this
Mr. Griffin,
parish who are still
Mr. Griffin,
suffering
Mr.
from.
Griffin. 1 second. This has been offered with changes. They're being
With
passed
changes,
out
right.
right now.
Yeah.
And I did read it with the changes.
Thank you. And I've had several people in my district who have to get surveys done to get their property qualified for insurance. And this survey cost an extreme amount of money. Now, I've looked at some resolution or orders that was passed in the past, especially one that was done by Mr. Belcher and another former councilman, where they waived the cost for this procedure to be done, where in the past it had been done by the permit planning and zoning department, which now has to be done by the engineer department. I know to make this thing legal, like we have to come back with some kind of fee that we have to charge the residents. But today I just want to get it approved, clarifying that the engineer department, by authorization from the president, can actually do this. In the next council meeting, I have a cost that we can submit that the fee would be charged for the service.
Mr. Griffin, I'd like to offer an amendment if I could.
Yes.
If we could put some language in here, because we don't have a fee set, and we do need to get this through. I would just like to add maybe a section 3, or make section 2, section 3, and we'll add in section 2 and put some language into the effect of this being contingent upon the fact that the council will be setting a fee.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
You second that?
Yeah.
Okay, can we vote on the amendment first? Any comments on the amendment? Shane's open on the amendment. The amendment passes 7-0. Mr. Griffin, are you done with your discussion on the ordinance?
Yes, sir.
Ready to vote on this?
Vote.
Do we have any comment or question from the audience? As amended, Sheen is open. You in trouble, Anthony? Think you'll be in here time? And it passes 6-1 with a no vote from District 5. Okay. Pass over 6A2. Mr. Griffin, 6A3. You ready? An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District map therein adopted by reference, in which is paraphrased thereto with reference to application number ZMP-2013-2, dated February 20th, 2013. Mr. Griffin, are you offering?
Yes, sir, I offer.
I'll second. Go ahead, Mr. Griffin.
Okay, what it is, we was gonna do this, I had to defer this, that I think it was the last council meeting. United Buck, they have several, well, quite many employees who either live in Phoenix or formerly members of the East Bank community who were living in other parts of the areas whose home was kind of destroyed by Hurricane Isaac. And this had been a hardship according to the administration from United Buck Terminal on the employees. So what they anticipate on doing is putting about 20 mobile home trailers on a lot that they own to make it convenient for the employees to be on site to work and kind of eliminate that financial hardship for those people traveling backward and forward. Quite a few of those guys are from the East Bank, and they also want to, I think, provide about 4 or 5 of those trailers because they're getting ready to start some construction on that site for the construction crew to also to live in. So it's really going to be a convenience for some of the employees who are originally from Plaquemines Parish.
Any other comment or question, Mr. Griffin? Hearing none, the machine's open. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Mr. Edgecombe, we're going to defer 6A4. Wait, we're on 6B. 6B is deferred. 6B is withdrawn. Thank you, sir. 6C will be deferred. I'm going to revert back to introductions for 1 second, y'all. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the 911 radio paging system, fire, and EMS project, and otherwise provide respect thereto. 6D will be deferred. 6E, Mr. Edgecombe. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the communications, Port Suffolk government building project, and otherwise provide respect thereto. Mr. Edgecombe. I'll second. Mr. Edgecombe.
Fiber optics, that's the government building. Mr. Guy Wagner is here. If colleagues or anybody has any further questions.
Guy, just give us your name and title or something.
Thank you, Guy Ligas, Director of Homeland Security, Emergency Preparedness, Plaquemines Parish. Thank you, Councilman Edgecombe. It's a fiber optic connection. CMA will run fiber optic all the way to the Port Suffolk government building for us. Right now, the only connection we have down the road, obviously, is AT&T with copper. It's not very reliable for us. Also, with the parish moving in the direction of more video and audio, especially with the sheriff's office usage, this will allow us to transport more things over the air down that way. It'll give us the capabilities now. Y'all have built a very good and robust microwave system, but we're overloading it with video. We really are. So this will give us another outlet to pass information forward and backwards. It will also allow those folks between Myrtle Grove and the Port Suffolk government building, mainly in Council District 6, to access CMA if they would choose to.
So that'd be a good start on moving the cables, the
Yes,
fiber
sir.
optic down the road.
Yes,
further.
sir.
This would be
It'll
the
get it
first
all the
step.
way down to the Port Suffolk government building.
Sounds good, guy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other comment or question? Hearing none, the machine's open.
So, before y'all vote, hang on, guys. As far as the funding, I need to make some changes, if y'all would, please. On the funding of it would be from the general fund, unreserved and
Stop,
designated.
Jeff, stop there. I'm gonna remove my second. Go ahead. You're gonna make some changes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
From District 7 sewers extension instead of the unreserved, undesignated general fund.
District
That's all.
7 sewer extension.
Yes, sir. Lines 8, 7, and 8, and also lines 13 and 14, please. with that all.
Funds 7 and 8 and 13 and 14?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay, and with that, you're offering?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm seconding. Is that it,
Thank
Mr. Edgecombe? Okay, do you have any comment or question about that? Hearing none, the machine is open. 7-0. It passes, Mr. Edgecombe. We're going to defer 6F. Six G will be withdrawn. Mr. Palazzo, I did ask you to take a look at this and look at the preamble and the content of the body. They don't match. 6H, Mr. Burris. 6H will be deferred. Thank you, sir. Okay. Howard, can we recess for 3 minutes? No, I need to read this and compare it. If y'all want to take like a 5-minute recess, I just need to look at something real quick. Patience, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move to, what item is this? 6 what? Okay, I see it on here now. We're going to move to item 6I, an ordinance appropriating funds to the Plaquemines Parish Levy System Improvements Project and otherwise to provide respect thereto.
Thank you,
Okay. I'm going to be offering this with some changes. The changes on here, we went through this line item by line item. The changes are going to be on line 51, strike the words Parish Courthouse Project. This one. You sure? Okay. Line 54, we're scratching the words Parish Courthouse Project. Line 57, scratch the words Parish Courthouse Project. Line 60, strike the words Parish Courthouse Project. Line 63, scratch the words Parish Courthouse Project. Line 66, strike the words Parish Courthouse Project. Line 69, scratch the words Parish Courthouse Project. Line 72, strike the words Parish Courthouse Project. Line 75, scratch the words Parish Courthouse Project. Line 78, scratch the words Parish Courthouse Project. I'll read the preamble. An ordinance appropriating funds for the Plaquemines Parish Levy System Improvements Project and otherwise to provide respect thereto. I'll offer and ask for a second.
I second.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Basically, what we have here, we were passed out a list. We probably should have done this a little sooner, but basically what this does is give us some, there's some reimbursable expenses that the Corps is going to be paying for, which is listed as $4,159,550 and $2,663,500, which will be coming out of the general fund. These are doing everything from replacing a bridge on the East Bank Back Levee, the Bel Air Bridge, some work for the Hero Drop Log Gate. There's about 22 different projects. There's water tubes here. There's sandbags. The list is, if anybody wants to review it at any time, you're welcome to look at it. We looked through them. I think the majority of us agreed these were all worthy projects. And it was a big cut down from the last amount of money we were asked for. I think this is a reasonable amount. And I would certainly ask all of you to help me out with this and let's pass this one. Yes, ma'am. General fund. Yes, ma'am. Do we have any comment or questions? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the ordinance passes 7-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'd like to thank everybody on the council, too.
Okay, we're going to go back to 681. 682, an ordinance authorizing Parish President William Billy Nungasser and Council Chairman Byron Marinovich to enter into and execute articles of incorporation for the establishment of Port Eads Fishing Refuge. a Louisiana nonprofit corporation, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Dr. Gui, you're offering. I got one. Okay. It's the same thing, though.
Yeah, I'm going to offer with changes that I just distributed, and I would like a second, and we can discuss it.
Seconded by Mr. Hinckley. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Gui.
Does everyone have one? If you take your original, and I'll show you where the changes are in this, but let me just give an overview. We all are well aware of the situation that has been presented to us in regards to the Port Eads Marina. We have approved a bid process for the private sector to come in and take a look at the marina to see if there is an operator out there who knows marinas, who does marinas for a living, that will put in a bid for the operation and maintenance of Port Eads. Preliminary numbers that we were presented on the expenditures were astronomical in my opinion, $2 million plus, just in operation and maintenance per year. I don't think anyone here can visualize that marina generating $2 million a year. So two proposals have been offered, and one is the bid process, which is now out there. Contacts are being made nationwide to marina operators, marina operating associations, trade corporations, all dealing with marinas. However, should the situation be presented to us that no one bids, or that any bids that are presented end up being ridiculous and not worthy of our attention, a second option, which has been floated, is the development of a nonprofit corporation. Again, my personal opinion is that whether it's a nonprofit or private sector, if those expenditure numbers are what we're being told they are, it'll be very difficult for anyone to come in, whether it's a nonprofit or private sector, to break even. Those are my personal comments, and you can take those for what they're worth. What this substitute ordinance does, it states that parish government and the parish council administration, that we may desire to form a nonprofit corporation, but under certain conditions. And those conditions are listed in sections 1, 2, and 3. The first condition is that if no public bids to lease Port Eads are received, or that all bids are lawfully rejected by the council, then and only then is the creation of a nonprofit corporation authorized. And the name of that would be the Port Eads Fishing Refuge. It authorizes the administration to draft the Articles of Incorporation, which I think everyone has a draft of that already, and that those Articles of Incorporation and the execution of those Articles of Incorporation can only take place after it has been fully reviewed by this council as to whether or not it is the direction we want to take. My initial thoughts on this were that we're putting the cart before the horse, but after discussion with some council members and administration officials, it was decided that why not at least get the process started. Nothing can be locked down until we do approve it, and if we don't approve it, it's all for moot. It's not an expenditure of any kind. So what I'm asking the council to do is to approve this substitute which in essence says just what I said it says. It authorizes the beginnings of forming the nonprofit, but does not authorize it to take place without this council's approval. And then, and only then, after bids have been received and either approved or rejected by the council. Mr. Palazzo and Mr. Rathburn, other members of the parish attorney's office, have gone through this to make absolutely certain that what I explained is in fact true, and that the language reflects that. And I would ask Mr. Palazzo or Mr. Rathburn or Mr. Arteaga to further comment in case somewhere in my explanation I was remiss in any facts. Gentlemen? I think you did an excellent job. Just like I told you to say.
Dr. Gouy, I've been assured by the council, our council, that we're not bound by anything here. I know we still have some questions about, liability. We have some questions about ownership, and we're going to have to resolve all these things before we go on. But this all is going to come back to us, correct?
That's correct. And if God's willing and shines upon us, someone will come in with a bid and take this problem away from us. Because I'm telling you, it's a problem. It is a serious problem. And there's no way that I can see this government funding that marina at a deficit. I can't see it. I'll never vote for it. There are too many unknowns, and those unknowns have to be solved. But that doesn't stop us from moving forward and trying to at least attack this problem and see if we can come up with a resolution. I think that the language here that many have contributed to is the way to go. I know to me the bid was the way to go, but the reality of it is maybe we won't get a bid, and we need Plan B. And I can tell you this, Plan C may be to do nothing. And I don't know how we stand on that legally, who you give the keys to, or what do you do, but you can't say when it's all over that we didn't put forth every effort we could to make that marina have the ability that it has. And it is an outstanding location. It is well known, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Thank you, Dr. Gouy. Any other comment or question?
I'd just like to say, compared to what we had before, looking at what Dr. Gouy has done with this documentation, it kind of gives me, I don't know about you all, some better guidelines and something to work with. Because as you said, there are some uncertainties and some unanswered questions that haven't been answered about ownership of some of their property out there. But at least this give us something to work with and get started, and then as we move along, then we can make corrections on what we need to know and then find out some true answers and move forward.
Anyone else? No further comment. Machine is open. And the ordinance passes 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Gouy. Not that quick, Keith. Just get a few more things. Mr. Edgecombe, 6J, deferred. 6J is deferred. Mr. Hinckley, 6K. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the Woodland Industrial Park subdivision project and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Mr. Hinckley, you're offering. Do we have a second? Second by Dr. Gouy. Mr. Hinckley?
Okay. This is a project that's off of Woodland Highway. It's in Woodland Industrial Park. We appropriated some monies last year for this project, and they are working on it right now. We pulled these monies out just recently, the water plant project.
So we had the money.
We had the money.
We stripped the money.
Stripped the money.
And you just want your money back.
I want my money back.
You want your
We
money
need the money back because it is a project that is ongoing, and
This
they're
was a
working on
flooding
it.
issue, if I'm not
It's
mistaken.
very much, it is a flooding issue. Right, so, okay.
Anything else, Mr. Hinckley?
That's it.
Any comment or question? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the ordinance passes 7-0. L. M also, Mr. Hinckley. Mr. Lapine, 6N. An ordinance declaring property located 8056 Highway 23, Belchase, Louisiana, 70037 as surplus property and otherwise to provide respect thereto. You're offering, Mr. Lapine? I'll second. Mr. Lapine?
We'll just bring it up to a vote. Anybody got a question on it?
Obviously, this is selling the Pope, what is this? We selling the Popich building before we built another building?
Let me turn this to Mr. Ortega. He handed it to me.
Okay, go ahead.
This is the administrative building off of Highway 23 where we're currently in right now. In anticipation of us moving into the government complex center, hopefully beginning of next year, we'd like to put this property up for sale or lease, at least at this particular time, with those caveats that we're not going to be out of there until we get out of there. And that takes some time. It takes a process. And the first process is to consider the property surplus.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Lapine, you have any further comment? Comment or question from the audience?
Nope.
Machine's open. And the motion fails unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Go to 6-0. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. An ordinance to amend the general fund 2013 operating budget fund balance designated for emergencies and otherwise provide with respect thereto. I'm offering with changes on line 8 is $1,200,000 instead of $3 million from general fund unreserved undesignated fund balance and $1,800,000 from the fund balance designated for sewer. This will make a total fund balance of $3 million. With that, I'll offer. Seconded by Dr. Gouy. This is to bring up emergency balance, which I think is probably pretty close to zero right now, back up to $3 million, which you obviously all know is quite necessary. Do we have any comment or question? Hearing none, the machine is open. Sedgecombe? I know, baby. And the motion passes 7-0. You have any kind of breakdown on this? I'm going to defer 6P at this time. Yeah, let's get it broke down so we can see what we have. 6Q, we're going to defer. We had some questions about that. We're going to work on that one, correct? You get some answers on that. We talked about that. Six R, withdrawn. Six S, Mr. Palazzo. Yes. Okay. An ordinance to amend the general fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, legal judgments department line item judgments and damages, written demand for payment by Philip A. Gattuso, attorney at law representing Wade A. Boudreaux, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Basically, this is an appropriation of $400,000 to settle and compromise a written demand for payment by the attorney representing Wade Boudreaux. And I think there was some compromise with this. Mr. Plaza, could you give us just a brief?
In evaluating personal injury cases, which I consider myself somewhat of a specialist in, this individual there's two parts that you have to deal with. You have to first deal with the liability issue, and then you deal with the damage issue. There was no question at all that the parish is 100% liable for this incident. Then you move to the damage issue. This individual that got hurt sustained over $250,000 of medical bills and had massive permanent injuries as a result of this accident. This settlement is more than fair and advantageous for this parish.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzo. Do you have any comment or question about this matter? Hearing none, the machine is open on 6S. And we have it passes 6-1 with a no vote from District 5. What do we do with this one? Mr. Turner's not here. We do pass over this one. Well, he's not here, though. Okay, we're going to pass over 6T right now. Just defer it. Mr. Turner's not here right now. Defer 6U. 6B. 6W will be deferred. 6X, Mr. Hinckley. An ordinance authorizing and directing the parish president, William Billy Nungesser, to prepare and issue a request for proposals to be advertised within 30 days of the adoption of this ordinance for professional engineering, architectural services to plan, design, build, and renovate as needed the buildings and/or new buildings in the Plaquemines Parish Government Complex located at 333 F. Edward A. Bear Boulevard, Bellchase, Louisiana, in a specific area of the buildings labeled as number 200, 201, 202, and 203, formerly the medical complex of the Metropolitan State School, to be used for district court judges and courts, clerk of court, DA, assessor, parish council, registered voters, public defender's office, justice of peace, and any other government officer so designated by this governmental body. Mr. Hinckley, you offering? What line, Keith? I'm sorry. RF2. Same thing. Line 5 on page 2. Same. And with that, you offer, Mr. Hinckley? I'm in a second. Go ahead, Mr. Hinckley. Tell us about this. which is Gonzalez right now. I think it's a secondary right now. So it's a possibility we could be building new buildings or using existing buildings. We're not knowing yet. Because it says either as needed the buildings and or new buildings. So it could be either or both. I know what they want, but sometimes there's some budgetary constraints also. I understand. Okay. I understand. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Rousseau?
Yes. Thank you, Benny Rousseau, 1012 Epsilon Street. I'd like to know how this is going to play into the contracts that are in place now, that are underway. You have a contract with All South. It's an adjusted contract for $1.1 million. If you want the exact figure, it's $1,168,729. You have another contract with All South for $250,000. To date, you've already paid them. This was December 31st of 2012. $179,000 on the first contract and $161,000 on the second contract. So I'm curious to know how this is going to work into a new group of engineers working, and what will happen to the balance of this contracts that are already on the books. Well, my concern is that you already have another $1 million in obligation out there with contracts that's already signed and being billed on. And then you're going to hire another engineering firm, and well, I understand all that, but that doesn't answer the question about the remainder of the contract in excess of $1 million that's still there. So are those contracts going to be ended, or? Right. I understand the politics of the situation. I just don't understand the financial arrangement and how that's going to work out when you're going to have all of these engineers and architects out there. And the master plan, you've already spent over $160,000 on it. So the master plan tells me that all of the buildings you just mentioned should have been in the plan or in this work that's already been done. So I think that it's important that you guys get on top of what's going on with the existing contracts. And if you're going to piece it out, this building to this engineer, this building to that engineer, that's fine. Just know what's going to happen when the rest of the $1 million comes due. That's my comment, and I would hope that y'all become fiscally responsible on these issues of spending money on professional services and duplicating effort. Thank you.
Mr. Griffin. My question. Mr. Hinckley, these two projects, they're two separate projects. One for administration and one is for the judicial system.
This is judicial only.
Okay, so what Mr. Russo was talking about this other project, as also is overseeing. What is that all about?
That's a multitude of buildings he's talking about.
Excuse me. The contract is for a master plan for the whole site, which have already $250,000 has been entered into, and a lot of it has already been spent. The other one is a contract to All South to do whatever assignments they have out there. And so what I'm saying is that if you're going to hire another engineering firm, what's going to happen to the rest of the $1 million contract? Is it going to be paid?
Duplicate payments is what you're saying.
That's what, well, yes. Well, look, I understand that, and I've been watching this government for many years, and it never comes back to the table to get straightened out. So once it's passed, it's done. Once they get it in their hands in the administration, it's done. It doesn't come back to you guys. Rarely does it come back. So my point is the duplication of funds and effort being made. And, you know, if you feel comfortable with it, then fine. I just think it's a poor choice to use public funds to duplicate efforts, especially when you have someone already on there.
Benny, this is for qualifications. There's no funds associated with this. This is just requesting qualifications.
Mr. Palazzo, I appreciate your comments, but how many times had this council said, we're just going to go out and get proposals? I'll give you a good example, the solid waste proposal. Nobody was here going to say we were going to privatize the garbage collection, but you went out and you spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of people's efforts preparing the proposal, coming back to the table to reject it. So I've been here long enough to know that if you're going to do something, do it with good intentions.
Benny, that's the process, and you know that.
Leo, I appreciate you one more time, but you're not making it to the point that I'm getting to. And that's the duplication of funds and effort. And if you're not going to seriously look at the contracts that are in place and go out and get new contracts, somebody's going to pay the bill. And just because it doesn't come out of your pocket, it comes out of the taxpayer's pocket. And that's my concern.
I'm a taxpayer too, Benny. I live in the parish.
Then you ought to be standing up and fighting for this issue.
Come on, y'all. Thank you, gentlemen. Senator, you have something for us, ma'am?
Yes, I have a question. Aren't the clerk of court's office, district attorney, assessor, registrar of voters, all of those supposed to be in the courthouse?
Some are and some aren't. And to be honest with you, I'm going to tell you right now, this is an attempt, to, in my opinion, to negate the East Bank Courthouse. We're seeing no movement right now. I haven't heard anything about RFPs for the courthouse now. We keep getting bull answers from administration about why none of it's been done yet. But we're moving forward, trying to get curtains and sofas and stuff for the district attorney's office. And I have a little problem with this.
I do too, because, I mean, it's been voted on by the parish constituents 3 times and failed. 4, excuse me, and failed. So when are you going to do something with it?
But we're definitely moving forward on something here for our 3rd COOP project, even though we have a COOP program already in place in Gonzales.
Mr. Agnew, just to kind of clarify, Ms. Agnew, you know, using my 20-some years in law enforcement, and what you're saying is you're actually right.
Thank you.
Those judicial systems do belong in the courthouse, per se, but there's nothing wrong with having office space for these different offices, you know, sub-office.
Why would you duplicate it and spend money?
It's not duplicating because you're not putting a new courthouse back there on
Why not?
You're putting a building. I mean, you're putting a room.
What
It
I'm
won't
saying,
be a courthouse.
what I'm saying is use the money or whatever and rebuild a courthouse and put those people back where they belong. Don't have a office on off of Main Street up there with Abear and not have nothing there.
Well, let me just clarify it like this. Let's say the DA, for instance. The DA has different departments in his office. Now, he may be wanting to do something with domestic violence that he don't want to do at the courthouse. Like he may have an investigator who want to work over here in Bell Chase to handle certain issues where you don't want to be
conferences,
publicized.
for instance.
So he can have office space, you know, in another facility. Not say he have his whole office over there and office space in Point LaHash. His position is in Point LaHash, but he can have an office space to handle domestic violence issues, you know, in another location.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Joe Frederick, 15383, Highway 15, Davant. Yeah, all of these offices, the DA, the clerk of court, they already have offices in Belle Chase. So why are you going to build another one in Belle Chase when we, like they said before, we don't even have a courthouse? So let them stay in the offices that they're in until we build a courthouse and put them in a courthouse. I mean, the parish has been here over a decade without a courthouse, and we're talking about building buildings over and over in Belle Chase for the same people, and they already have offices up here. So I think there's just a underhanded way to get the courthouse in Belle Chase. That's all it is.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not, the machine is open. And the motion fails 4-3. Mr. Hinckley, what are you gonna do with 6Y now? I think we might. Ms. Lapine, 6Z. So we're gonna withdraw or defer 6Y? We're gonna withdraw 6Y. Well, we can start on the courthouse, maybe we can talk about something else afterwards. 6Z, Ms. Lapine, 6Z will be deferred. Dr. Gui, 6AA, we're gonna withdraw. 6AA will be withdrawn. 6BB. 6BB, a resolution requesting that the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development place no U-turn signs on State Highway 23 at its intersection with Magnolia Drive in Bellchase, Louisiana, and otherwise provide respect thereto. Dr. Gui, you're offering?
I'll offer and ask for a second.
I'll second. Go ahead, Dr. Gui.
I've made 2 requests to DOTD. We've got a situation where there's a very wide area with no median, and there's traffic coming in from 2 subdivisions on the Highway 23, and people are constantly making U-turns there. I've requested DOTD on 2 occasions. I'm not important enough to get an answer. So I'm hoping that if we can get the council to approve this, maybe they'll recognize us and tell us yes, no, or go to hell. So I'm asking for y'all's support on this so we can get an answer. Go to hell.
Any comments or questions about this? If not, the machine is open on 6BB. The resolution passed 7-0. Dr. Gui.
Done that before.
Six CC. A resolution authorizing William Nungesser Foreign on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish Government to name and accept the proposal of the Plaquemines Parish Gazette as official journal for the Plaquemines Parish Council and all other political subdivisions and districts situated therein of which the council is the governing authority. An offer and ask for a second for discussion. Second, Mr. Griffin. I know the Gazette has been handling this for us for some time. I just had a question, maybe both attorneys could answer for me. I know we have a secondary newspaper in the parish, and it's mentioned here that we do not. And I was just wondering if this, because it says is the only newspaper. Does this newspaper not meet the qualifications, or? No, it isn't a newspaper. It's huh? No, it's the bargain plus something, whatever. I did see. Jerry, come up if you want to. You can talk. Come on.
Normally, I would let Norris handle this, but
Yeah, you got
I'm
it. You
familiar
can do
with
this.
it. State law requires, there's a few requirements. A free newspaper cannot be an official journal.
Is that a law?
It needs a certain postal
Rate.
It needs to be in business for more than 5 years.
Okay.
And there's a few other things, but and it has to be physically located in the parish.
Okay.
And so there's most of those things, no other paper qualifies for.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I needed to know. I'm ready to move on. Anybody have any other questions or comments?
Routine.
Machine's open. Mr. Edgecombe. Okay. And the resolution passes 6-0. Six DD, an ordinance to amend the Public Health and General Funds 2013 operating expenditure budget, Health and Legal Services Department's various line items, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I'll offer and ask for a second. Seconded by Dr. Gui. I spoke to Mr. Raymond Ferrer yesterday. What we're doing is moving from the money from the general fund and legal services, and Mr. Plazinum has been working on this quite diligently, but I think they've been actually about 2 weeks now. I think Mr. Ferrer explained to me that they've been, trying to work with y'all on this, and they needed some additional budget, and y'all allotting these funds out of another line item. Is that correct?
That's correct, and it's going to give them the ability to get the abatement program more organized, so we can get some of this stuff done a lot quicker and easier for them.
Has it seemed like it's been working a little better for y'all this couple of weeks?
It has.
Okay, good, Leo. Anybody have any comments or questions? Not, the machine's open on 6DD. And it passes 7-0. 6EE, a resolution approving and authorizing Byron Marinovich, Council Chairperson, William Nungesser, Parish President, Laurie L. Myers, Finance Manager, to execute a Louisiana compliance questionnaire to Cola Champagne Slavin and Company LLP, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Dr. Gouy. This is something I think we do. This is pretty standard every year. In connection with the annual audit, Ms. Myers sends me a message here. The parish is required to provide our auditors with a Louisiana compliance questionnaire adopted by formal resolution. And that's what this is. Any comment or question? Hearing none, the machine's open. And it passes 7-0. Six FF. 6FF, I'll be offering with changes an ordinance to amend the general fund 2013 operating expenditure budget, swimming pools, bureaus, community center, department line item, professional service, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. The changes being we stricken the language on line 6, buildings, bureaus, line 7, stricken the words community center, added swimming pools, community center. On line 15, we struck the number 620-3448 and the words buildings, bureaus, community center. And on line 16, added 655-4149, swimming pools, bureaus, community center. And with that, I'll offer and ask for a second.
Fill the blank.
I'm sorry, y'all. Line 8, we need to put it on the sources. Mr. Pierce has pointed out. Unreserved, undesignated. And with that, I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Griffin. Mr. Williams, you could probably enlighten us a little more on this, if you would, sir. Huh?
No, that's right. Don't get any.
Yes, sir. Had the opportunity to speak with Ms. Jennifer Sanger at the Bell Chase Y, and also Miss Mary Seuss, Rosemary Seuss with from the YMCA in Bell Chase. In regards to the restroom facilities that's outside of the pool, they have not been completed in the last 2 years. We're coming up on the swim season again, and we're trying to get these restrooms completed that's adjacent to the swimming pool at the Beerus Y Community Center. So this is what the $20,000 is for, to complete those restrooms and have them operable for the young people.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Any other comment or question? Hearing none, the machine is open. For the kids. Thank you, gentlemen. Passes 7-0. 6GG will be deferred. 6HH, Mr. Edgecombe, move forward. In order to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the Empire Shipyard Complex project and otherwise provide respect thereto. Mr. Edgecombe, you're offering.
Offer with changes, sir.
Okay.
Lines 2, 6, 8, and 14. Change the word shipyard to harbor. That's lines 2, 6, 8, and 14. Scratch.
2, 6, 8, and 14.
And with that, I'll offer, sir.
I'll second. Mr. Edgecombe, this is no cost to the parish. This is coming from a grant, correct? Don't try to say it, because I can barely get out myself. Okay. I'll second. Do you have any comment or question about this one? Okay, machine's open on 6HH. And it passes 7-0. 6II. 6JJ, Mr. Bieras? Defer? Thank you. 6KK? Okay. An ordinance authorizing and directing the parish president to prepare requests for qualifications for professional services to assist in the planning, engineering, oversight, and other related services in support of Plaquemines Parish's claims for compensation related to the April 20, 2010 BP operation Macondo well blowout and oil spill, and otherwise certified with respect thereto. Mr. Beers, your offering.
Yes, sir, I'll offer is read and ask for a second.
I'll second. Mr. Beers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This comes about because it is my belief that, and no disrespect is intended to the government in Plaquemines Parish, but I just don't think we have the personnel nor the manpower to navigate the BP oil spill money that is about to be provided to the parish. There are multiple sources of funding that are about to come down, and for anybody that was present at the meeting last night that was held in Belchase, it's fairly evident that it's going to be a complex process. It's going to take some special expertise to navigate that process, to find out what's out there, what's coming down from each source, whether it's through the state, whether it's through the Restore Act, whether it's money coming directly to Plaquemines Parish. It's going to take a firm with extensive experience in this type of work to sort it out for us and to report back to us so that we know exactly what we're entitled to. My idea for this came about as a result of seeing what the other states did. Florida's done something very similar, as has Alabama and Mississippi. So with that in mind, I thought it was in the best interest of Plaquemines Parish to go out for RFQs, to see what firms are interested, and hopefully for us to be able to select a firm to help us with this process. One other point that I would make about the meeting last night, and it's a little bit funny, my thought was the same as a young man that's about 22 years old. I ran into his father this morning and mentioned that I had seen his son at that meeting last night, and the father asked me what I thought. I said, well, I guess my interpretation is that Plaquemines and the other states that were the other parishes that were so adversely affected are getting ready to probably get shortchanged by Mr. Garrett Graves in the state of Louisiana, because I see a money grab getting ready to happen by the state. And I believe that if we don't have our ducks in a row and have a plan going forward as quickly as possible, that Mr. Graves and CPRA is going to do whatever they can to get their hands on every penny that they can get. And when I mentioned that to the gentleman this morning, he goes, well, my son didn't put it quite that lengthy, he said, but he came up with the same assessment as you last night, was that, you know, it looks like everybody other than the state is going to have problems, because he thought that it looked like the state was probably going to be in a boat to garner most of the money. So with that, again, I offer as read. If anybody has any concerns or questions, I would listen to them, but I would ask you for your support.
I'd like to make a comment. Well said. That's exactly what's happening.
Any other comments or questions? I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Beers. I do agree. We don't have the expertise for this, and I think it's something that's quite needed. Any other, Mr. Lapine, you have something for us, sir?
I also was at the meeting last night with Mr. Beers and Mr. Hinckley and Mr. Gooey, and when Mr. Young got up there, the president of Jefferson Parish, he already had a list of projects he already wanted. So they're already in line or getting in line, and we're not ready yet. So this is a great thing that we need to do, and I support it a whole lot.
Yes, and we had, I think the number was 39.1% of positive. All reports came from Plaquemines Parish out of the five affected states and the seven affected parishes in the state. So, any other comment or question? Should you have something for us, sir?
Yeah, the idea of the parish's coastal master plan, is that something that the council is going to adopt?
My opinion is if it ever comes to us, we'll look at it and potentially adopt it, and that would be part of what I would hope would be used for the Restore Act money and the BP money.
Well, that's why I guess I rose, because when I read the preamble, it looks like we're starting over again on the parish's coastal plan, and I thought we had gotten to the point where the coastal plan is pretty much, I thought we was gonna adopt it.
I think this is more to maneuver through getting the monies to us. You know, it's just, I understand what you're trying to say, but it's not re-engineering the wheel again. I think what we're trying to do is have somebody give us some, potentially give us some advice on trying to maneuver through to try to get as much money. Everybody's grabbing for money, let's put it like that. We're trying to grab for ours also and get our fair share. And I think that's what Mr. Beers is offering for us here today.
And that's separate and apart from the lawsuit that we have Scott Bickford and them working on.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any other comment or question? Passes 7-0. We'll move to 6LL. It's originally offered by Mr. Turner. I'm gonna go ahead and go through with it today. I'm seeing he's want to offer this with changes. I don't have a copy of changes. I'll read them off to y'all. I'm going to read an ordinance to amend the general fund 2013 operating expenditure budget. It's going to say we're striking the words buildings, Ports Office Civic Center. We're adding swimming pools, Ports Office Civic Center. Also on line 6, we're striking the words building, Ports Office. Line 7, we're striking the word Civic Center, adding swimming pools, Ports Office Civic Center. Line 8, we're gonna add the words in the blank, unreserved, undesignated fund. And let's see, line 15, we're gonna strike the number 620-3380, and we're gonna strike the words buildings, Ports Office Civic Center. And on line 16, we're gonna add the numbers 655-4148, swimming pools, Ports Office Civic Center. And with that, I'm going to offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Griffin. Mr. Williams, if you would.
Yes, sir. And council, this is identical to the Beers Community Center YMCA. We're trying to get the restrooms completed for the young people for the summertime.
Thank you. Any comment or question? I think it's identical legislation. I think Jim would ask for your support on this one. Mr. Griffin? And it passes 6-0. I need to go back to introductions for one moment. An ordinance authorizing directing the parish president to initiate and implement Phase 1 of the Plaquemines Parish General Aviation Airport Project, appropriating $208,095 to the Plaquemines Parish General Aviation Airport Project, and otherwise to provide respect thereto.
Chairman, I have one.
Go ahead, Mr.
In
Griffin.
order to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan for the East Bank back levee integer transmission pole relocation project, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Anyone else? Have any new business? Let's see. I don't know what I do with mine, So it's just in here. Does anybody have it? No, we can go ahead and do it. We're gonna give it to everyone to see. I'm gonna bring this one, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and read it. In order to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan by appropriating $500,000 to the Highway 23 4-lane expansion Port Sulphur project, and otherwise provide respect thereto. I'm offered for discussion. Ask for a second. Dr. Gui. Is anybody that can give me any information on this at all? Miss Audrey? Could you enlighten us a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, you're not familiar? Okay.
Let's go ahead and defer this until Mr. Turner gets back then. Okay? I understand. Okay, we're gonna pass over these. Okay, let's move to item 8, approval of minutes. January 24, 2013, February 14, 2013, February 28, 2013, council meetings, and March 8, 2013, special council meeting. I'll offer that for a second. Second by Mr. Griffin. Any comment or question? Machine's open on the minutes. Those are passed 7-0. Do we have any other further business to come before this council? Wait. Keith, you made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Griffin. Whoever. Machine is open. Just need to discuss adjournment. And we are adjourned at 4:17. Dr. Gui?
Call the meeting of the Plaquemines Parish, Port Harbor and Terminal District to order. Machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that we have 7 council members present. Mr. Turner and Ms. Cooper are not here. We will, on item 2, executive session, that will be withdrawn. Item 3, status report of the port director, Mr. Tennyson. You didn't have to dress up just for me.
You got a suit and tie on today, look.
Good afternoon, John Pennison, Deputy Port Director, Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. It's with a heavy heart I inform the council of the passing of Captain Mark Dugas. Mark passed away on Saturday morning, June 1st. He was a longtime captain aboard the Authority 2 down in Venice. Mark was employed with the port in Parish since July 14th of 1997. He'll be missed by all, and please remember Mark and his family in your prayers. The search for an executive director is underway. As of today, we've received 16 completed applications from individuals in the states of Washington, Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Ohio, Oregon, the Virgin Islands, Connecticut, and Louisiana. Final interviews are scheduled for the 28th and 29th of June with all available council members. All of the applications are available for inspection by council members upon request. Dr. Ngui and I had the privilege of giving the keynote address at a luncheon for the Plaquemines Association of Business and Industry. Dr. Ngui provided information regarding the new governance structure of the port, the hiring process for port director, and the direction that the port is hoping to take. I provided statistical data as well as information regarding the tariff structure, the number of port employees, and our response capabilities, etc. I wish to thank the membership of PABI for the interest taken in the port and the opportunity to inform the business community about the port. Councilmember Hinckley and I had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Sherman Bryant of Cambridge Energy and Mr. Jimmy Cramen of the Crescent River Port Pilots in order to open a communication between the two agencies early on in the development of Cambridge Energy's project down in the Venice area. The port mobile communications vehicle has been ordered with an expected delivery date of 90 to 120 days. This asset will be used by the port and the parish and the sheriff's office for emergency response and remote communication for the safety and security of the port and the citizens of Plaquemines Parish. We'll endeavor to negotiate a cooperative endeavor agreement between 3 entities and come before the council for approval. There are currently 2 vacant rescue boat engineer positions, 1 captain position, and a vacant marine inspector's position available in the port. I'm expecting a list of eligible candidates shortly from civil service. I will make my recommendations to Dr. Gui for final approval. Finally, it's my pleasure to announce the promotion of Mr. Donald Durr, a 16-year veteran of the port, to the position of Director of Port Security and Vessels, and this became effective May 27th. I wish Donald the best in his new endeavor. That is my report. Any questions? Thank you, Council.
Bids and advertisements, there are none. Number 5, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. Look, before doing that, I want to ask for a suspension of the rules. Earlier, we did the mirror suspension for Cambridge Energy, and I'll ask for a suspension, a resolution authorizing the Port Chairman, Dr. Stuart Gui, to sign a letter to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission supporting the effort of CEFL NNG LLC and CE Pipeline LLC's application for the long-term authorization to export liquefied natural gas to non-free trade agreement countries and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I'll offer for the suspension and ask for a second. Seconded by Councilmember Marinovich. The machine is open. And the suspension is approved 7-0. I'll offer the resolution and ask for a second. Seconded by Mr. Griffin. We discussed this during the council meeting in regards to the letter of support, and it's just a mirror resolution, and I ask for everyone's support on this. Any questions? Machine is open. And the resolution's approved 7-0. I also would like, I'm asking for a suspension of the rules for a resolution authorizing and directing the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to call and schedule closed meetings per the authority granted by the Open Meetings Law for the limited purpose of discussing the character and professional competence of the applicant seeking to be appointed Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I'm asking for the suspension to actually set the meeting dates and hold them for the interviews. To let you know, we can introduce this and let it sit for 2 weeks, but we'll be approving this the day before the meetings are scheduled. And I just thought I'd like to get it out of the way so we can get these things on the calendar and start advising these applicants. So I'll ask for the suspension and I'll ask for a second. Second by Mr. Marinovich. The resolution is as read. The text of it talks about the statute regarding the open meetings law in relative to this, and it also sets June 20th at 1:30 in the afternoon for the interviews to begin, and then again on Saturday at 8 a.m. This will be held at the Belle Chase Council Office Conference Room, 106 Avenue G. All council members have received emails to your personal account, your council offices, and hard copies requesting your presence, hoping you could be there for the interviews. All of the applications have been distributed yet, John? Okay, by the end of this meeting, everyone who has not received all of the applications will have them in hand. If you're here, we may have to deliver one to Ms. Cooper. So I'm open to questions.
Suspension.
We didn't do the suspension? All right, voting on the suspension. I got rolling, I'm sorry.
Key.
And the suspension is granted 7-0. Mr. Rathburn, I know when we start talking about open meetings, closed meeting, that can raise some eyebrows. If you could please just give us all an explanation of the drafting of this and the compliance that it states.
There are two exceptions to the open meetings. One is to go into executive session, and one is to go into a closed meeting. When you're discussing the potential review of applicants to be interviewed.
Pretty much.
You can have a closed meeting. In fact, for a moment, we thought it was an executive session issue, but it isn't. And so, if it's solely limited to the discussion of the potential applicant pool that you're looking at in an effort to narrow it down, you can have it in a closed meeting, and that's how it's been crafted when we put together this resolution, so that the council can discuss, the various pros and cons of each applicant, and not have those folks have their perhaps confidential information just aired out in the public.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Council members? Audience? Machine is open. Thank you. And the resolution is approved 7-0. Just a privilege, if you council members would just give me a minute. Earlier this year, the council passed a resolution regarding the opposition to freshwater sediment diversion. I have a companion ordinance that is directed toward the significance of freshwater diversions as it relates to the flow of the Mississippi River and the safety of navigation. John, is this something that has to be passed today, or can I introduce it? What is the timeline for our comments?
As I recall, Dr. Gouy, the timeline for comments is end of July, so we have time.
Good.
You can just introduce it.
Great, thank you. That's all I need. We'll move to introductions, item 5. CV, any introductions? 4, 8, no?
None, sir.
Any down there? Okay. I have a couple. A resolution opposing any freshwater sediment diversion projects in and affecting Plaquemines Parish, Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District until scientific evidence is presented to support, in fact, that these structures will not significantly alter the flow of the Mississippi River with regards to the safe navigation thereof, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the Port Chairman, Stuart J. Gouy, for and on behalf of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to name and accept the proposal of the Plaquemines Parish Gazette as the official journal for the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. We'll move to item 6A. That will be deferred. We'll move to item 6B. 6B, an ordinance and directing the Port Chairman, Dr. Stuart Gouy, to enter into and execute a contract with the Chesapeake Group LLC lobbyists beginning July 1, 2013 through July 30, 2014 to represent the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District in any upcoming sessions of the Louisiana State Legislature, and to provide its interest in all matters and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I will offer.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Marinovich. Mr. Eric Sundstrom has been under contract with the port for, 5, 6 years. And I have to say that during every session, he keeps us well informed. But not only that, throughout the year, he's in constant contact with us as committee meetings are being held or any talk about any port issues that affect us. What this ordinance does, it will renew his contract for the upcoming year. And I'll ask if anyone has any questions, comments, anyone in the audience?
Dr. Grudd, is that the same question? You're doing the same contract as
Same
last year,
contract,
no less, no
everything.
more.
No raise. Sorry, bud. Tough times. Take what you can get. Count your blessings. Yeah. Maybe in 2, I won't be here. Machine is open. And the contract's approved, 7-0. No business. I have no new business. Anyone else? We have three minutes to approve. We have the minutes 8A, which will be January 24, 2013, 8B, February 14, 2013, and 8C, February 28, 2013. I will offer that a motion to approve those minutes. Ask for a second by everybody. Mr. Marinovich, you got it. Machine is open. I heard the motion. There's a second. By the way, the minutes were approved 7-0. Clear the board, please. Motion to adjourn and seconded. Machine is open. Mr. Burris will stay here for the remainder of the evening in the corner on rice. He will kneel on rice. 6-1.